Hey, Coach, you said the national seeding was interesting. Do you think you should be higher than the 10 seed?
Well, you win the league the way we want it. I think that is really a separator. You play so many ACC games. I think that made your season, your schedule harder. But you don't play outside teams. So I think overall, like our conference RPI, our conference teams RPI, when I look at the teams in our league, I think the RPI was a little skewed this year, and nobody was going to argue that that could happen. You just didn't know what boxes were going to be on the menu as they went down this. And um, you're splitting hairs when you start trying to decide who's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't know. And those people have studied this for weeks and weeks and weeks. I've been on those calls. They're not easy to rank teams that are across the country that, especially this year, who haven't crossed over and played a lot of outside games in some of these leagues. So it is what it is. Like, you have to go play. We've probably played better on the road. So whether we're here or on the road, I don't. It's neat to be in your city and in your stadium for your fans and families to easily access it, but it is what it is, and we just have to go play clean, good baseball, and we'll be fine. Did I think we would be one of the top 8? I thought we had a chance, especially with the way the league played out and how we separated, but water under the bridge.
And I know you don't want to dwell too much on the seeding, but I think 4 SEC teams among the top 8. You've got 3 Big 12 teams and even 2 Pac-12 teams seated ahead of you in the first 9. But the ACC got 8 teams in. So what more do you think you could have done?
I mean, I guess win the ACC tournament, and I don't know. I don't know. We didn't play. Virginia Abbott was completely on it, like he's been good all year. We obviously didn't play a good game that day. I guess my first hint at this could be unusual is when they did the regional submissions so early in the season. And when those 20 sites came out, when us and Pitt were the only 2 that had a chance to be one of the 16, I knew at that moment something is really abnormal with what they're looking at. So some of my interviews with you guys, when I told you I didn't know what boxes were on the menu this year, that was a big indicator that something's a little different. I mean, think about it. Like, there are some really, really good teams in this league that we beat each other up to the point of it's just a long, grinding 12-week ACC skip. Tough. For us and Pitt to be the only 2, it just seemed like something was tricky with how they were ranking. I think they used the RPI more heavily than the intention was when we were starting this in October, November, and trying to figure out the season. So just that was when I knew this wouldn't be a normal run for how this was going to play out. And it was exactly that. It's just unusual. Not saying wrong. It just was unusual. The circumstances were unusual.
So just briefly following up, I know you reference RPI. I think Michigan was maybe 89 RPI. So it seems a little weird there. You guys played 35 ACC games. And as you said, won it with time to spare. Does it shape the way you approach anything in the future? Or do you think this is a one-off deal because this was the first year back from COVID?
I think this will never happen again in terms of the scheduling being like this. I don't ever, I sure hope we don't ever have to revisit the landscape of the scheduling and how we're playing and when we're playing. And I mean, the ACC coaches, I sat in this chair for if I counted the hours that I sat here with the ACC coaches and administration trying to figure out what the right roadmap was for the season in October, November, December, I couldn't add them up. And we all came to the decision on how we did it. And then the institutional administrations had to really vote. As coaches, we can just recommend, and then they have to decide as athletic administrations. But I don't think this will ever happen again with the pandemic, the COVID, and the way people weren't allowed to play outside in the Big Ten. And, the MAC was 4-game weekends. And there's just so much unusual circumstance around everybody's schedule that when the dust settled, nobody had ever seen that kind of dust pile before. And it's hard to sort it out. So it's just the way it is. It's one circumstance that, we were all affected in different ways by the last year. College baseball in our own little world, you could see the turbulence that's created.
Yeah, Link, I asked Tanner earlier how much maybe it appealed to him to try and come in and be a part of a turnaround like you guys have engineered here at Notre Dame. I wonder how much is that a characteristic you look for in some of the guys that you have brought into the program, how much you look for it in the guys that were already here, and maybe what it says about the mental makeup of your team.
Well, you like guys that want to jump into what you're doing and leave an impact. That's an important piece for me in recruiting. Like, even as your team becomes maybe better than it was when you walked in the door, then it becomes sometimes the guys may not feel like they walk right in and play. So you want people, whether you're turning it around or whether you've established things, you want guys that want to be a part of what you're doing. And these kids that jumped in essentially with me when we started this, they're in and they want to leave a legacy. We talk about it a lot, that the best way to honor the previous players and all the guys on this wall behind me is to go play well. Like Mancini and Craig Counsell and Pollock, like they want to turn on the TV and see that what happened today. That's what they want. When they go to the locker room for their game tonight, it's really neat for them. And I like guys that want to be a part of it, that recognize there's need and room for improvement and want to be a part of transitioning. And then once you evolve it, you want to have guys that believe they can go out there and continue to make an impact and, are gutsy enough to know they got to fight to get on the field in their specific role that they want. So, but these guys have transitioned. It's coaches, we have some influence on it, but we're not up there throwing one pitch. There's not going to be an at bat by any of our, those guys have to go deliver, and they have done it. And it's a tribute and a credit to them. They've answered.
You've touched a little bit on having fans and that it's going to be some sort of increased capacity this weekend. Maybe how much did it help that your team played some games down the stretch to be in front of some fans and just get accustomed to a little bit more full stadiums?
Well, we talk a lot about having to play the game with minimal verbal communication. We talk about it. I mean, our guys can tell you how many times do I preach that you have to be able to play the game without yelling across the field at everybody like you can when we practice tomorrow. You can't. So our system is designed for this, and I hope it's loud. And I hope it's loud for us. And then, if you go, or we matched up with Mississippi State, right?
Yes.
You go there. I've been there a couple times, and you have to be able to play the game without, constant communication verbally across the field. So we've trained for this, and I think we're more suited for it than maybe teams that don't have that philosophy. When you start fall practice and preseason stuff, you're preparing for what it's like in June, and I hope it plays out that it helps us. I think it should.
And you have been here for 2 years. Did you expect this turnaround so quick to be able to take this team to the NCAA tournament when you first got here?
Well, when you first get here, I didn't even get to see our play. The first fall, we weren't able to throw all of our pitchers because you had guys in the Cape and guys that threw a lot that were coming off injury. So I didn't really know what we were fully capable of until we got into the season last year. And then through those 4 weekends, by the time we got to North Carolina, we played really well. And I think it hit me then that, hey, that was the first time I'd seen the complete package of our team. Now, drills and some bullpens and whatnot, but I saw it. Then you put it down, and 2 of our key pieces that were on our team this year, Vale and Sheehan, injured. So, you wonder how that's going to affect things. And development of the pitching staff and the versatility has been remarkable. But I think last year at North Carolina, I saw signs of elite national type capability out of the team. And we didn't lose a lot. We lost a little bit. We added a little bit, and we picked up where we left off.
Sorry. How nice would it be to be able to play in front of more fans finally at your home stadium?
It would be awesome. I think we're creeping up there towards that. Have they finalized that?
Nothing's public yet.
Okay.
They're working on it.
We have the latest information I saw, like we're creeping up towards a better crowd than we obviously had this year. There weren't many, and it was neat what they did. The students and our players' families and some staff could come. I think we're trying to evolve, and it would be awesome. I talked to Paul Maneri a lot when I got the job. He says, let me tell you this, if you can win, these people love to come watch Notre Dame baseball, especially when you're winning. So I'm going to call Paul and congratulate him. And then I'll say, Coach, hey, what do you think? What do you think's going to happen here? What's it going to be like? So anyway, well, I don't know the full scale of who can come, but it's going to be better than the regular season. That I can tell you.